welcome back to a chapter day. Happy first day of a new week. It's Sunday. And we are going to be reading Nehemiah chapter 7. I pray you are also enjoying the weekend, which is supposed to be Easter, which is really not a word you find in the Bible, but we know it's celebrating the resurrection of Jesus. So every day we need to be thankful that Jesus rose from the dead. That first of all, he even went to the cross, because without the shedding of his blood, we could not be redeemed from sin. And without his resurrection, there'd be no hope of our eternal life either. So with all that said, recalling what we read in Nehemiah 6 yesterday, the opposers again were coming at them, at the builders of the wall of Jerusalem, Sanballat, Tobiah, the Arabians, and some others. And I believe they wrote a letter to the king, trying to convince the king that Nehemiah would be, or at least they said they did, to intimidate Nehemiah, that they would be letting the king know. Have you ever met people like that? They want to tell on. When I was growing up as a child, that's called telling on you. You know, they make up a lie or a story. It's a lie to say something about you if you don't do something. Intimidation, because they wanted Nehemiah to meet them in a certain place under the pretense that they were going to have a meeting, when in reality they wanted to kill him. And then they put up another person that maybe was closer to Nehemiah. You got to watch your back at all ends. Best person to have watching it though is God. But God inspired Nehemiah to think wisely that this man was also trying to set him up. He was saying, let's meet in the temple, temple of God. So that would mean there would be no problems there. But he too was hired by Sanballat, which was the head of the opposers, to trick Nehemiah. So he didn't fall for it because God was with him. So the wall is finished, and they kept bothering him, the opposers, sending him letters and trying to get him to be fearful not to continue with any building. So let's see what happens in chapter 7. Now it came to pass, when the wall was built, I had set up the doors, and the porters and the singers and the Levites were appointed, that I gave my brother Hanani and Hananiah, the ruler of the palace, charge over Jerusalem. For he was a faithful man, and feared God above many. And I said unto them, let not the gates of Jerusalem be opened until the sun be hot. And while they stand by, let them shut the doors and bar them. And appoint watches of the inhabitants of Jerusalem, every one in his watch, and every one to be over against his house. Now the city was large and great, but the people were few therein, and the houses were not builded. And my God put into mine heart to gather together the nobles and the rulers and the people, that they might be reckoned by genealogy. And I found a register of the genealogy of them which came up at the first, and found written therein. So again, a little background information. Nehemiah and they were not the first set of captive Jews to be returned from Babylon to Jerusalem. Remember, there were people that came up first and started building, and then they too had opposition when the king, I think was Artaxerxes or Ahasuerus, requested they stop building the wall. We don't know for how long, and then it continued again. And every single time, there were opposers. Okay, so he's now trying to find people to put them in order according to their tribes or their lineage, from the Levites or priests, whichever. So verse 6. These are the children of the province that went up out of the captivity of those that had been carried away, whom Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon had carried away, and came again to Jerusalem and to Judah, every one unto his city. So the children or the people who were taken captive by Nebuchadnezzar came back, and they returned to the cities that they were from originally. Verse 7. Who came with Zerubbabel, Jeshua, Nehemiah, Azariah, Ramiah, Nahamani, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mispereth, Bigvi, Nahum, Bana. The number, I say, of the men of the people of Israel was this: the children of Parash, 2,172. Okay, so I'm not going to read all of these. He's naming a lot of the people who came back to Jerusalem from Babylon, and he is also numbering their children. So from verse 8 all the way through to verse 60, that's what they're doing. They're naming all of the men that came back, the priests, the Levites, etc., from Jerusalem, who came from Jerusalem originally and were returned from the captivity of Babylon back to Jerusalem, and their children. So I'm going to continue reading from verse 61. And these were they which went up also from Tel Milah, Tel Harisha, Cherub, Adon, and Immer, but they could not show their father's house nor their seed whether they were of Israel. So there were some people who got lost in the shuffle. They weren't sure from which tribe they came, because again, we don't know how long they were in captivity before they were returned. Some people might have been born in captivity and lost their genealogy. We don't know, but some of them could not prove it. Verse 62. The children of Deliah, the children of Tobiah, the children of Nekoda, 642. And of the priests, the children of Habiah, the children of Koz, the children of Barzillai, which took one of the daughters of Barzillai the Gileadite to wife, and was called after their name. These sought their register among those that were reckoned by genealogy, but it was not found. Therefore were they as polluted, put from the priesthood. So once they could not prove that they were from the priestly lineage, they were not accepted. Verse 65. And the Tirshatha said unto them that they should not eat of the most holy things till there stood up a priest with Urim and Thummim. The whole congregation together was 42,363. Beside their manservants and their maidservants, of whom there were 7,337. And they had 245 singing men and singing women. Their horses 636, their mules 245, their camels 435, 6,720 asses. And some of the chief of the fathers gave unto the work. The Tirshatha gave to the treasure 1,000 drams of gold, 50 basins, 530 priest garments. So these are the people from whom they maybe took away the priestly garments and things that they had because they could not prove their genealogy. Okay, so this is what they are numbering amongst those people. Verse 71. And some of the chief of the fathers gave to the treasure of the work 20,000 drams of gold and 2,200 pounds of silver. And that which the rest of the people gave was 20,000 drams of gold and 2,000 pounds of silver, and 67 priest garments. So the priests and the Levites and the porters and the singers and some of the people and the Nethinims and all Israel dwelt in their cities. And when the 7th month came, the children of Israel were in their cities. So that's the return of the Israelites to Jerusalem. And apparently they are moving ahead with the work of getting the temple rebuilt now that the wall has been put up. That's the end of our reading of Nehemiah chapter 7. A lot of genealogies in this one, but that's okay. That's the end of our reading for today. I pray you have a wonderful and blessed week coming up ahead as we move into this work week for many people. And as I said, keep on listening because your faith will grow. Take care.